when I think of brand integrations in YouTube, as opposed to brand integrations in television or in movies, like E.T. doesn't start with Steven Spielberg walking out and saying, all right, listen, this movie is about like an extraterrestrial. There is a part where Coca-Cola is seen in the movie, and that's because, Coca-Cola paid us to do that. But, I hope you enjoy the movie nonetheless, and on with the show. That's like not a thing. And same thing with like I watch this show Bar Rescue, right? And Bar Rescue is like Kitchen Nightmares, where this guy goes into failing bars.
Oh, I've seen the show.
You've seen the show. John
Taffer is
Taffer.
amazing.
Okay.
I love John Taffer.
It's a really entertaining show. He goes into failing bars and he tells them, why it's failing, tries to fix it up. Then at the end of the show, this auctioneer Micro Machines man spits out the list of sponsors that you've just had. It's like, brought to you by blah, 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 and it's like 97 different brands that like helped them, pay for the ice machine or whatever that they put into the bar. Yeah. And it's like, that is at the very end. It couldn't possibly be like faster. It couldn't be communicated like faster and like less clear. It's like almost purposefully obtuse, and that's fine on television. But you're right. This connection that we have with the audience, just the dynamic is totally different.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's also something that we're pushing back against, which is that people understand their relationship with TV. I know to watch a half an hour long episode of my favorite show means putting up with 8 minutes of bullshit commercials. Like, that's the deal. I know that, to watch my Netflix, that they're going to take $11 out of my account every month or whatever it is. That's the deal. That's the transaction. And I think the deal on YouTube is a lot less clear. Some people are like, what do you mean you're reading me? This video is sponsored. I just watched a commercial at the beginning that was 5 seconds long before I got to skip it. Why do I have to now listen to you? You're taking advantage of me. This was not the deal. Or in my case, like that thing that I got such shit for, rightly so, they're like, wait, no, I clicked on a video of Casey to watch. Why? You mean this is a commercial? Fuck you, Casey. And that's fair. That's okay. They were right in that case. So I think that's something we're pushing up against. Like that Buster Keaton did it, but it was also in like 55 different Roadrunner cartoons where the train is going down the track at full speed and they're trying to put the track down in front of it before it goes off. The track's not built, but the train is moving. That's YouTube. And I think that's YouTube as a business. And that's what maybe that article we referenced at the top of the show was about, is that they're putting the train tracks down, trying to figure it out. And certainly for us creators and the businesses that we've built on there, that's what it is. We're trying to figure this out as best we can. And I think that all of that experimentation is really at the expense of the audience. Like, the audience is the one that we are expected to tolerate this bullshit while we figure it out. And, so I think that there's always going to be conflict and there's always been frustration on behalf of the audience.
We should have seen that coming with the rollout of Red and Premium, where there's a lot of pushback that some people I like to watch, all of a sudden I have a paywall to watch them. And enough people, made an issue about that. It should have revealed to us that there's an expectation here that is one thing. And if I change that expectation at all, a lot of people have a problem.
And I don't think enough people don't have that problem to make up for the difference, because it seems like, YouTube had this strategy with their original content where, well, maybe if we funded these big shows, we could get enough people to sign up a la Netflix style to pay for them. And from what I understand, from what I've read, they're massively kind of rolling that back. It seems like now, moving forward, their next, I think in 2020, their plan is to have only ad-supported content and not really rely on that paywall anymore. And I think it leads to your point that enough people already have an idea of what YouTube is, and then all of a sudden changing that. It's not like, so I remember when, I don't know, Casey, if you remember this, when Netflix originally started streaming, when Netflix originally was trying to switch from mailing you DVDs to being a streaming service, they put out this, I think it was a letter. Do I remember getting a letter in the mail
that they sent out? Yeah,
that they were like changing the streaming service to Flickster. Am I remembering this right?
Like that, yeah.
It was really weird.
Okay, you're conflating a couple of things, but I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. So Reed Hastings, when this was long after they rolled out streaming, but it was when streaming was overtaking DVD shipments. And what he tried to do was bifurcate the two products. So you could either sign up for Netflix, which is just streaming. And now if you wanted DVDs as well, you had to sign up for this separate program. And people flipped the fuck out. And they flipped out on such a level. If you remember, like, Reed Hastings made like a really bad YouTube video explaining the situation, his intention, and trying to fix it. And it was just like gasoline on the fire till they rolled back the whole thing. But I think that that is a very good and very interesting parallel. You set expectations. People had an expectations. For my $8 a month, I get my DVDs and I can watch your streaming service. And then when you change that, people feel like they're being tricked. And I think that when the nature of the business is as both complex and nuanced as YouTube, you're gonna be hitting these landmines all the time. And I think Red's an interesting example because, to me, it's like, well, how do we get higher quality content that people might pay for? And it's like, I know, let's go to our biggest creators. Let's offer them real budget to realize whatever project is exciting for them. They'll use their audience to promote that and get people to pay for the paywall so they can see this great new content. Everybody wins. Audience gets fresh content. Creators get to make something new. YouTube gets more subscribe. Everybody wins. And then, it didn't work out. But again, I think that's sort of indicative of it making sense on paper, making sense in theory, but in practice, it's far more complicated when you're diving into such a such a multifaceted universe as YouTube, and the social dynamics of the relationships between creators and audiences and expectations and why people click subscribe and why they like YouTube over television and all of those super nebulous, impossible to define things. You're building a business in and around that. It's tricky.